God. If this were 31 years ago, you'd be getting a totally different pitch tonight. Last time I spoke here, it was at the convention, and part of my story is the last night of my drinking, I get into a fight with the hockey team, so it was like the hockey theme song thing. So that was pretty funny. But anyway, that was pretty good too. My name's Erin, I'm an alcoholic. I want to say thank you, Scott, for asking me, and my friends for going out to dinner with me beforehand, and congratulations to everybody that picked up a chip tonight. I love seeing people get sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, and if you're new, my experience in this program is that it's way easier to stay sober than it is to get sober. My sobriety date is March 22nd of 1995. So this past March, I celebrated 31 years of sobriety. And I guess the next thing I need to tell you is that I didn't arrive here as an alcoholic. I wasn't done drinking, really. I basically was terrified that I was going to kill myself or somebody else. And so that one day, I was willing to kind of come in and see what you guys were all about, right? I had no intention of staying. I didn't really think that I had a drinking problem. Why I'm still here all these years later is because I found the life here that I really just sat on a bar stool talking about, like all of my life, right? I started drinking young. I was like 12 and a half. We lived overseas. My dad was an Army officer. If you could reach the bar, you could get a drink. That was very convenient for a budding alcoholic. I remember exactly how I felt before I had my first drink. I felt shy and introverted and awkward and nerdy and not particularly cool. And we were at a football game, and we left the football game, and we went to over to this like little park, and like within a 15-minute span, I had my first cigarette, I had my first drink, and I kissed my first boy. And I was like, this is the trifecta of happiness. I'm taking this everywhere I go, and I did for like the next 13 years. And I remember like Rory Summers, that poor guy, like I hope someday he's actually in the rooms. I don't think he's an alcoholic, but I hope, like, he's been part of my story for 31 years, and I think it'd be hilarious if he was like, hey, I'm Rory Summers. But anyway, so Rory Summers goes up to the bar and he says, I'll have a rum and Coke. I was not going to be outdone by my first kiss, so I was like, I'll have a double. And I remember exactly how I felt before, and then I knocked that double rum and Coke back, and my shoulders went to where shoulders should be instead of being like up here. Like, I felt comfortable in my own skin. I felt like I had a personality that other people could relate to. I felt happy. Like, drinking gave me the life that I was too afraid to have before I got here, right? I always kind of wanted to live this like amazing life, but I was just too terrified, right? Like, that's like the most important thing that I'm probably gonna say tonight is like, my alcoholism was manifested and grown by my fear, in proportion to my fear. You guys, people, were terrifying, right? I just walked through life a frightened child all the time. I was just absolutely terrified. And drinking, I didn't care, right? I didn't care what you thought. I didn't care if you thought I was cool. I thought I was cool, right? And so, I decided immediately that I was going to be a party drinker, and I decided that I was going to be in charge of all the parties, because that way nobody can not invite you if you're like planning all the parties. So you always have a seat at the party. And drinking was like our literature talks about, like, it was a lot of fun in the beginning. Like, I had a really good time, and I personally believe that I would have never made it through my adolescence had I not found drinking. Like, it just was all very, very painful. And I don't think that I personally could have survived it had I not found drinking. So I'm incredibly grateful. I also grew up in an alcoholic home. My parents kind of made this deal with me. We didn't sit down at the dinner table and come up with this deal. It just is kind of what defaulted. And they kind of were like, you get good grades, you play a sport, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, all right, done. Deal. And that was kind of the beginning of me like really believing that if I could make the outsides look good enough, it didn't matter what was happening on the inside, right? Big lie to myself, but big lie, right? And so I became very preoccupied with making you all think that I was doing fabulous when I was doing very, very poorly, right? And just like our literature talks about, like, the more I drank, the worse it got, right? Like, very shortly, like, we lived on this very small base in Panama, and my dad was getting phone calls like, they found like 27 bottles of Boone's Farm on the General's tennis court. Do you know anything about that? And I'm like, have no idea, like, and it just, I was always kind of creating this kind of havoc, but I was also a really good liar. And so I would get out of it, right? Like I had this little sweet innocent face. Oh, me? Oh, I didn't do that, And I got away with a lot of crap that way. And, I continued the facade, right? Like if I look okay and I'm functioning, at the end of my drinking, I had 5 different jobs. I was in grad school. I was dating 3 different men in 3 different states that did not know about the other ones. And I was very busy. I was a very busy alcoholic. I was doing all of it very, very poorly and was on the verge of getting fired from like 3 of those jobs. I hadn't been to grad school. Like I drank my book money. I hadn't actually gone to class. And I got sober like a month and a half before I graduated, which was really, my sponsor, I remember at the time, I was like, well, she was a lawyer also, and she was like, I go, well, I don't know what to do, like, because I didn't buy the books and I haven't been to class. And she's like, just go to a meeting, it'll all be okay. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure AA is not going to be on my finals. And she's like, just go to a meeting, it'll all work out. And somehow it did, So the more my drinking kind of wore on, the more unpredictable my behavior became, right? Like I was the life of the party until I wasn't, right? Somebody would piss me off and then I would have an issue with them, and physical violence was the way that I settled issues, right? So I know that I'm like 5'3", right? I get that, but in my mind, I was like 6'8", and terrifying to people. And actually, I kind of became that person because I was violent, and I never got in a fight with a woman in my life, but I would pick like the largest man at the bar and then have a problem with him, and I would hit him, and I would say really, really mean things that would make him hit me too, And so like the last couple years of my drinking, like it was just instant chaos. Like I would pass that point of no return. I'd get into barroom brawls. It's not there anymore, so you can't fact check me, but there was a bar in Savannah, Georgia called Kevin Barry's, and my picture was up by the bouncer station, and it said, "Don't let her in, she's fucking crazy." And I started many a barroom brawl at Kevin Barry's. Like my nose was broken 3 times last year in my drinking. I know I don't look like this now, but I promise you I arrived in Alcoholics Anonymous with a black eye and a busted lip and bruises everywhere, and I was a mess, I was really sick and tired of kind of having these things happen. But I really didn't think that I was an alcoholic. I grew up in a home that, my parents drank every single night. My dad was absolutely an alcoholic. I have alcoholism and drug addiction on every single branch of my family tree. My cousin, drank herself to death. My other cousin, her brother overdosed on heroin. Like, it's rampant in our family. But I didn't really feel like I was like them, right? Like, because that's like the great delusion of every drunk. Like, it's not going to happen to me. Like that, those consequences are for those other poor people. Like, they're not going to happen to me. But I started having those consequences. Like, every night kind of was a suicide mission that I kept failing at, right? And I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my God, my car's here. There's nobody here. Like, this is a good night, right? Like, but my first thought was always like, but I'm still here. And I just hated myself so much. And then I was behaving in a manner that was equally abhorrent, right? Like I was responsible citizen by day and like complete derelict by night, right? And, and I don't know about how you guys drank, but like I had morals. Like I did. I was raised, with, some civility and stuff. I mean, we weren't complete heathens. And, but I as my behavior got worse, I just adjusted my morals to fit my behavior, right? Like I didn't try to maintain those lofty goals of like being honest and a good person, showing up where I said I was going to, not stealing, lying. Those things just became the norm. That's just how I behaved. And so the last night of my drinking, my dad, I'd been on a 7-day, I don't know about you guys, but St. Patrick's Day lasted 7 days for me every year. And it was just a blur. And I was on a 7-day bender in Savannah, Georgia. And I got back and it was my dad's birthday, and we'd gone out. We had a minor league hockey team where I got in the town I was living in at the time, and they made it to the playoffs by all miracles, and so we all went out partying. And apparently, I was in a blackout during this, but I do have a girlfriend who got sober just a couple months after me, and she has fact-checked this and verified that I have not made this up. So anyway, we kind of joked about it, like, wouldn't it be really funny if she totally told me this lie, and like for 31 years I've been standing over the podium at AA telling the story that's absolutely not true. But I swear, it is. You can call her name's Roseanne. So apparently the ref, I thought he made a bad call during the hockey game, and I apparently told him that I thought he made a bad call. And so he said some things, I said some things, and then I punched him in the face, and then the hockey team jumped in on it, and then it was just like a free-for-all. And I came out of my blackout as the bouncer was pitching me down a flight of stairs, and I like bounced as only the truly inebriated can. And my girlfriend was like, I am so done with you. I'm so sick of you. I'm so sick of all of this drama with you all the time. And so I was like, fine, I don't need you. And so I got in my car, and I was going to drive it. There was like 7 exits to the parking lot. I couldn't find one of them. And so I got in the cab. I tried to pick up the cab driver. It's a bad night when the cab driver wants nothing to do with you, like not getting any play from the cab driver. I went back to Roseanne's house. I broke a whole bunch of crap. I called a whole bunch of people. I always called people. I was a drinker and a dialer. I love to call you with a good buzz on and tell you all about the contents of my head, right? Like crazy insanity. Anyway, not fit for anybody to be up in. And so I called a whole bunch of people that were not excited to hear from me, and then I passed out. And the next morning, I woke up, I was arguing with where my car was, they were driving me back to it, and I had that moment of clarity, right? Like that voice that was not my own said, Erin, how many times are you gonna do the same thing over and over again and expect something different to happen? And I don't know why I heard it, right? One of the things that I was most terrified about was being crazy. Like, I was not really terrified about being an alcoholic. I thought that I needed way more years of drinking before that was ever going to catch up with me. But I was worried about being crazy. So hearing voices in your head was a bit disturbing. But I was ready, I guess, even though I didn't feel ready. And there was a woman, Eve, who had watched me bottoming out for like the last couple of years of my drinking, and she'd say ridiculous things to me like, would you like to go to a meeting? And I was like, oh my God, no, it's not that bad. You're like totally overreacting. Like, I'm fine, it's good, it's no problem. Like, I still look okay, right? And she's like, yeah, the black eye is a really good touch, you know? So I called her that day and I said, okay, I'm ready, will you take me to a meeting? And she said, no, I won't. She said, but I'll meet you there. And she knew me well enough to know that if she would have shown up at my house with a whole bunch of AA women, like, you absolutely would have a different speaker. Like, I would not have made it. Like, I wouldn't have gotten in the car. I wouldn't have gone to the meeting. She knew me well enough to know that I had to walk through that door by myself. I had to cross the threshold of Alcoholics Anonymous, come in and sit down. And she did meet me there. You know, I got sober in Tallahassee, Florida. And they do things a bit different there. So that first meeting, when I got sober, we didn't have like the fancy chips. Like, we had poker chips. Like, you got a white chip, first surrender chip, you got a red chip at 90 days, you got a blue chip at 6 months. And I still am a big fan of this. They didn't give out medallions. They gave you a silver dollar of the year that you got sober, and then every year you drill a hole in it, defacing government property, all about that. And so then that's what you got, right? And so they kept the white chips in the seventh tradition basket. And so when it would go around and you knew that there was a newcomer sitting next to you, you'd say, take a white chip. And so, like, I didn't know, and I took the white chip. And then the audacity of the woman sitting next to me, she yelled, white chip. And then everybody clapped. And I was like, oh my God. If I learned very carefully, sit in the back next to the door. Like, you never know when you're going to need to run out of an AA meeting. Like, it's hilarious that that's what was humiliating to me. Like, my behavior prior to coming to AA was not humiliating, right? Not humiliating at all. The barroom brawls, all the crap, that wasn't humiliating, but taking a white chip, that was terrifying, right? Like, and I can't tell you what the topic was of that meeting. I can't tell you what they said. I can tell you that I saw the steps. That's the tradition, steps. I wasn't going to do any of it. I was like, God, no. The only person I hated more than me was God. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any of that stuff. And but for some reason, I came back the next day, and I came back the next day, and I came back the next day. And for a really, really long time, I straddled the fence on Alcoholics Anonymous. I stayed sober, but I didn't get a sponsor. Then my home group assigned me a sponsor. They were like, here, you need a sponsor. Meet Liz. She's going to be your sponsor. And they said, you know, wait until you hear your story. Wait until you hear somebody talk about the way that you felt. And one night, they also said, you know, find a sponsor who has what you want. And so I did that because that was easier. And so this woman, Betsy, stood up, and she had really nice clothes, and she had a really nice car, and she had a lot of money. And so I was like, I want her for my sponsor. She also happened to be a spiritual giant in this program, and she taught me really, really well. And I absolutely credit her for making it through that first year of sobriety, right? It was like the best, for all of you that just picked, like, best, worst year of your life, right? Like, that was my first year, best, worst year of my life. And so many things happened in that first year of sobriety that are responsible for me still being sober today. Service. Service saves. If you're new, get a service position, get a whole bunch of them, right? Like, they assigned me. I was pretty toxic, right? Like, I was not friendly. I wasn't going to say, I didn't know the prayers, so I couldn't say them. I didn't want to hold your hand, and I'd make a big deal about that. I'm not holding, don't touch me, I didn't know the prayers. I wasn't going to do anything. I didn't do readings. I wasn't going to share, didn't want to get a sponsor, all the things. And so they decided to make me in service. So they came up and they said, we've decided that you should be the ashtray person. Well, I had just quit smoking before I got sober. And so I thought that was a horrible thing. And I thought that was like, I know you guys kept talking beyond any length. I thought that was really beyond any length. Like, how can you ask me, I just quit smoking, to do your ashtrays? So I was kind of an asshole. So I would get up during the middle of the meeting, I'd take your ashtray, I'd take it to the kitchen, I'd get it wet, and then I'd bring it back so your cigarette would be ruined, right? So I was very short on the ashtray commitment, right? And then they promoted me to coffee cups, and I also didn't drink coffee. And God bless those people. I know that I probably made some of the worst coffee AA has ever tasted. And nobody ever complained. I'm sure they did behind my back. But to my face, they never said, like, oh my God, you can't even drink this. It's like, I don't know, jet fuel. It's terrible, And I was terrible on the coffee commitment too, right? Like, I would break the cups. I wouldn't wash them right. I was awful. But what happened for me in that service position is at the end of the meeting, I'd have to wash those damn coffee cups, and I'd be in the kitchen still, and all those old timers would hang out, and they'd say stupid things to me like, hey, do you want to go to the Village Inn and have some pie? And I'm like, no, you guys are like 80. I'm like 25. I don't want to go anywhere with you. And they're like, get in the car. And I would get in the car, and we'd go to the Village Inn and eat lemon and meringue pie, and they were spoon feeding me Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't know that, right? I was just like trying to be a good AA person, like, I'm going to put up with these people. Like, I got sober in Tallahassee, Florida. The median age was like 65. I thought I was going to marry somebody on Social Security. I was not happy about that. All the young, cool people went to NA, right? Like, I was here with all of the old people, and I was not happy about it. But, they taught me really, really well, right? Like, I am so amazed at the kindness and the patience and the tolerance that they did. I was a big fan when I finally did start speaking in meetings. I was a big fan of explaining to you why I wasn't probably really an alcoholic. And there was this guy, Jack B., that was in my home group, and I would say ridiculous things like, well, I never got a DUI. And Jack B. would yell, yet, and every time I shared, Jack would yell something after I shared. And I told my sponsor, I was like, I'm pretty much going to punch him. And she's like, we don't punch people in Alcoholics Anonymous, Erin, And I'm proud to say that in 31 years of sobriety, I have had no physical altercations. I have wanted to get in many physical, thank you. You're clapping for yourselves because you guys are the ones that taught me how to do that and God, right? We're going to get to that in a minute. But so I, where was I, Scott? I was physical altercations. I get derailed easily. Yeah, Jack B. Okay, yeah. So I would take up lots of time in the meeting telling you guys why I wasn't really an alcoholic. And then, I don't know, one night I went to the speaker meeting, the Saturday night speaker meeting, and I sat in the back because that's where I always sat. I learned that lesson from the first meeting. Don't sit in the middle of the rows near the front. That's a bad place. And so I was sitting in the back, and this woman, Bobby, was celebrating 7 years of sobriety. And she was wearing yellow. I hated yellow. I was like, there's no way she's been sober 7 years in a row. They'd all been out to dinner. People had brought her flowers. I freaking hated Bobby. Like, I freaking hated her, right? Like, I sat in the back. I'm like, she said Tuesday, then she said Wednesday, and she's such a fucking liar. Like, I was so, like, judgmental, right? And then something amazing happened, which was about, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks later, I went to that same meeting, and Bobby was sitting drunk in the back of the meeting crying, right? And as I walked by the off-gassing of alcohol from Bobby, the person that I envied, right? The person that I was so resentful of because I just couldn't believe that she could have that life. I suddenly, as I walked by her, I was like, oh my God, I have more time than she does, right? And it changed everything for me in this program, right? Like, I realized, like, what a precious gift I had been given, right? Like, I don't know why my higher power found me in this dirty, disgusting pool hall that my son, who's also here, thanks Logan, says is not still there, but I maintain that it is. But I don't know why my higher power pulled me out of that dirty, disgusting pool hall and dropped me into Alcoholics Anonymous. But I am so very grateful, right? And then, remember, like, I was kind of always concerned that I was crazy. So then, like, I moved away, and I'd go back to Tallahassee because my folks lived there, and I would go, and I'd be like, do you guys remember Bobby? Like, you know, she had time, and low bottom, like, you know, remember? And everybody would look at me like I was crazy, and I was like, oh my God, another thing I've lied about. Like, now I'm lying about shit in sobriety. I'm like, this is not good. But on my 20th AA birthday, I happened to be in Tallahassee, and I went to my old home group, and there was Bobby. And she had been sober from that relapse to then. And I walked up to her and I said, I don't know what that relapse did for you, but it saved my life, and I'm so incredibly grateful, right? My sponsor used to tell me all the time that, you know, you're either an example in Alcoholics Anonymous or a warning. I've probably been a warning far more than I've been an example. I maintain they're both service. So anyway, a couple of other things that happened in that first year of sobriety that are important to why I'm still here today. In Florida, if you've ever been to meetings in Florida, especially in the panhandle of Florida, we like to give people nicknames like Two Dog Joe, One-Eyed Fred, you know, like, and that's just kind of the way it works. And sometimes, and people tend to have like taglines that they say before they share, right? And they also share multiple times during the meeting, which I absolutely still hate. And so, you know, there was this guy in my home group, and he would say this. He would say, hi, my name's Bob. I came to AA to get sober, and I found God, and it changed my life. And in my head, I never hurt Bob. But in my head, I stabbed him. Sometimes I'd slit his throat. Sometimes I'd run him over in the parking lot. Freaking hated Bob so much, right? But the joke was totally on me, right? Because that's exactly what happened to me. I came to AA to get sober. I found a God that I could do business with, right? And it changed my life. Right? And so, like, if there's somebody that's always at the meeting that you're at that's saying the thing that's annoying you, pay attention, right? Because that could be the thing that actually happens to you, and you could end up being incredibly grateful. Like, so grateful today for Bob, right? And I'm so glad that I didn't do him physical harm, right? Like, I had restraint. My sponsor did have to, like, kind of put her leg over me a couple times, like, stay in your seat, stay in your seat. Like, I was on a choke chain, you know? Like, so this relationship with this higher power, I didn't want it. I didn't need it. As I told you before, like, the only person I hated more than me was God. I got sober in the Bible Belt, so, like, we didn't completely practice the traditions. So, like, Jesus was in the meeting. I was not happy about that. Thank God for the people that were here when I got here that were able to explain to me that I could create my own higher power. Like, and I'm so grateful that the doors of AA were big enough for me and all my God baggage to come in and sit down, right, to find a seat anyway, right? And that you guys were able to help me through your example and your shares and everything else about how I could find this power that I could do business with, right? And today, like, I can't imagine going 5 minutes of my life without a constant conversation with God. God and I are in constant dialogue. Why? Because I still need it. Like, I'm still not okay up here. Like, I'm still not, like, I know right from wrong. I just don't ever sometimes want to do that. Like, I don't want to do the right thing, right? And so my job and the steps and the program and all the things that we're taught to do here are how I keep the channel clear, right? If I don't come to meetings, the channel gets muddy, and then I'm not carrying the message, right? And I believe that that's the only reason that I'm here, right? Like, it wasn't for me. God doesn't give a shit if I have a great life. The great life is the byproduct of coming here and doing the work, right? Like, I came here, and I'm an all the things girl. I still have to do all the same things that I did when I got here, right? Like, I have to go to meetings. I have to have service positions. I have to read the literature. I have to sponsor and be sponsored. Like, I have to do all the things, you know? And pretty much everybody that's important to me, pretty much, is in this program or a friend of this program today. You know, it's a family disease. I got sober. 2 months later, my mom got sober. 8 years later, my dad got sober. We lost him on Christmas last year, and he died sober. You know, family gatherings were, like, the police almost never came. Like, they almost never came once we all got sober, right? Like, everybody got along. There was, you know, no, I wasn't causing chaos, you know. And so this relationship that I have today with a higher power, I know it's stupid, But, like if I need a parking space, I'll be like, God, I need to get to this place to do this thing. Could you please give me a parking space? And I swear to God, every time I've asked, there's a parking space, right? Like, and some people may think that's stupid, right? But for me, it's this relationship that helps me navigate life, right? And it's someplace that I can turn to. Because before I got here, I wasn't asking any of you for anything. Like, if I didn't know it, I just made it up. Like, no big deal. Like, I just would create my own reality, right? And today, like, I have the ability to ask for help. I have the ability to be like, please. Like, I can't tell you how many times, if you would have told me when I was new that I was going to be spending a lot of time praying in ladies' rooms, I would be like, oh God, that sounds horrible, right? But like tonight, I went to the bathroom and I prayed and I just asked God to like, please help me say something that's helpful to somebody else or me. Sometimes maybe none of you get anything out of anything that I said tonight, but I know that I will leave here sober, right? And that's good enough, right? And I think that, one of the other things that I want to say that I think is important is be nice to the old timers, right? It gets lonely with a lot of sobriety. Like, nobody comes up to you after a meeting with 31 years and goes, hey, will you sponsor me? Like, they don't. They go up to somebody that's got like a year and they're like, hey, you've made it through. Like, yeah, and I get it, right? Like, it's been a long time. There's a lot of landscape between me and that, right? I try to keep it green, but it gets lonely, right? And one of the things that I've learned in this program is that my job, regardless, again, warning or example, is to come here and tell you the truth about the person that I am today. Not the one that I want you to think, not the one that I want you to see, but the actual person. And there's this guy that was also in Tallahassee. His name was Spiritual John. I remembered his name. If you saw me speak in Santa Barbara last week, I totally blanked on his name. I'm like, Spiritual Steve, Spiritual Bob, I don't know. Anyway, Spiritual John. And he was sober like 40 years. Like, he levitated into the meetings. Everybody's like, oh my God, Spiritual John, Spiritual John. Like, he meditated 75 hours a day. It was crazy, right? Until the day that he blew his brains out with 40-something years sober. Now, I don't know, maybe he had mental health issues that were going unaddressed. I don't know why John took his life, but I will tell you that I never, ever heard that man come to a meeting and share, like, my wife left me and I'm devastated. My kid died. My dog died. I lost my job. Like, I never heard him come in and say what was going on right here and right now, right? And so what I learned from Spiritual John's life and his death was that I got to come here and be honest with you, right? Like, it's embarrassing when I have to come in here and tell you things. Like, I will tell you tonight, like, I had 30 years of sobriety and I got fired in December from a friend of mine in the program of 30 years, right? Not my best work, right? My dad passed away on Christmas Day. A tree fell on my house, Christmas Day. Like, I had to go out on disability. Like, these are not things that I want to share with you. They're the things that I'd like to keep private, right? But I don't know which one of those secrets or those things that I don't want to share with you is going to be the thing that makes me think one night that it's a good idea to take a drink or a drug or whatever, right? Like, I don't want to be that person. Like, I earned my seat. I've done a really pretty good job, me and God, and you, all of you keeping me here. I don't want that to be my story. I don't want to think that a gun in my mouth is a really good idea one day, And I've seen the revolving door of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've seen the people that have come in and desperately want this program, but can't get it, And it is heartbreaking. And so I'm going to do everything that I can in this life, in this sobriety, to make sure that I get to stay here, I'm a big believer in doing a 10th and 11th step. I do one every single day. And it was funny, I had this newcomer call me from one of my home groups, and she was talking, and her sponsor had gotten really, really mad at her because at 9 months of sobriety, she wasn't doing this daily inventory. And I was like, well, shit, it took me 25 years to do like a daily inventory with any kind of regularity. Like, I do it for a couple months and then fall off for 6. It's taken me a long time. But again, it's the only way that I know how to keep Erin at a minimum and God at a maximum operating in my life, right? I've got to do the inventory. I've got to see where I've been selfish and self-centered and self-seeking. I've got to take a look at that and then correct it, right? Because otherwise, like, I don't know about you guys, but my 4-step, the first one, I was fearless and thorough, and it was lengthy. Like, it was lengthy. I don't even know. how many pages of resentments. I had government agencies. They were on there. Like, I mean, I had to go pick up food stamps for one of my friends, and the guy was a complete asshole to me. He was on my 4-step. You know what I mean? Like, I carried around resentments. I loved taking a bad situation and just re-feeling it and re-feeling it and re-feeling it. Like, I got off on that. Like, I loved that, right? And I can still do that in sobriety, right? I don't want to be that person, right? I want to be the kind of person that's living happy, joyous, and free, right? And the only way that I know to do that. I also write a gratitude list every single day, 12 things that I'm grateful for, right? And I share it with all the people that I sponsor. And then they share theirs with me. And this is probably the biggest spiritual growth that I have is I actually read theirs. I don't just heart it and go, good job. Like, I actually read their gratitude list, right? Because that's the person that I used to be. I wanted all the credit for not really doing the work, right? Like, I really wanted like all the cash and prizes, but I didn't really want to have to walk the walk. I didn't want to really have to do this stuff. And today, like, you guys, this program, my higher power, has grown me into a person that's actually just willing to do the work. Right? It's so much easier. Like, I was the kind of kid that my mom would say like something ridiculous, like go brush your teeth. And I would go up to the bathroom, I'd turn the water on, I'd open and close the medicine cabinet. I'd take the toothbrush on the tile and do this. It's so much easier to just brush my freaking teeth, like, why? But that's how I was. Like that, and I still am that person, untreated, right? Untreated, that is still how I behave, I guess I know that my higher power saw fit to save me because he thought that maybe I might be useful to somebody else, right? I don't believe that I was saved so I get the great life, right? The great life has been the byproduct of me doing this work, right? And I do today have a great life. Like, my son is here, he's sober. I'm so grateful. That has been a heartbreaking journey for me. And I'm so incredibly grateful, for all of you that have helped my son, who helped my dad, who helped my mom, who helped me, right? I love how my first sponsor, I grew up in a bar mentality, right? Like, you never took anything that you weren't willing to pay back, right? Like, it was always like tit for tat. Like, you gave to get. That was the only reason. And I used to follow Betsy out to her car after we worked the steps, and I'd be like, thank you, Betsy. Thank you so much, Betsy. Thank you so much, Betsy. Thank you. And finally, one day she turned around and she goes, would you stop it? Stop thanking me. And I was like, but I need to pay you back. And she's like, you are never going to pay me back. You are never going to pay me back. She's like, if you're lucky, you will stay sober and you'll get to help the people coming up around you. Like, and that will be the biggest thing that you can do to kind of pay this back. And that has been the most amazing thing. Also right here and now, like, I had this woman that I sponsored. I swear to God, I'm going to end on time. It's important. Nobody wants to stay after 8 o'clock and everybody stops listening. That's demoralizing. So I had this woman that I sponsored, and she had, it was heartbreaking. Like, she would go missing, and I'd show up at her house, and like, it was this weird place, and I'd find her under the bed, and she's like, do you hear the organ music? And I'm like, no, that's just all you, and she had like plastic flowers taped to all the walls, and like, just really not in a good place at all, right? And she just came and stayed with me for a week with her 20-month-old baby, right? She's been sober 6.5 years, right? And it is amazing what our gods will do for us in this program, right? And she is just like the most amazing little girl. Like, in the week that she was at my house, like, she came and she was kind of babbling words and stuff like that, but she had like this language explosion while she was there. And we're like, window, and she's like, window. Like, it was just this, it seems so basic, right? My kids went through that too, and I remember being amazed and in awe, but like, this woman and this child are like miracle upon miracle upon miracle upon miracle. And like, the fact that I got to be some small part of that is absolutely amazing, right? So like, if you're new, it's not just about you getting sober, right? Because my sobriety, I love it. I am so grateful that I am sober. But me participating in like my friend Daya's life, like, Darren's life, Scott's life, my kids' life, right? Like, that is the most rewarding thing. Like, I came in here and I was a taker. Like, if you couldn't give me anything, I wasn't interested in you. I was the kind of person that would walk into a room and I'd survey it. Like, and I'd be like, who can I get something from? who do I want to date? You know? Who do I not want to date? You know? And that's how I went about it. And then the rest of you were dead to me. You meant nothing to me, right? If I couldn't get something from you, I wasn't interested. And if you would have told me when I was new that I would turn into a person that more often than not, I'm still a selfish asshole a lot of the times, right? Like, I'm not perfect. This program has not made me perfect, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that I'm never going to be perfect, and I'm always going to be a little bit broken. And I'm grateful for that because that makes me continue to have to seek the solution, right? I'm never going to graduate. The highest we go here is sober, right? I'm never going to graduate, although somebody once told me, and I thought this was brilliant, like when you graduate from AA, you go to Al-Anon. Thank God for that, right? Like, been in Al-Anon a long time too, right? Definitely relationships are a challenge. But, you know, so if you're new, there has been no greater honor or privilege than to watch somebody who's struggling with this disease, who's afflicted with our illness, catch fire in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it is something that you don't want to miss. And if you're new, come all the way in and sit all the way down and take your turn. Like, you didn't end up here by accident. I really, in the time that I've been sober, I've never, ever seen anybody come in and be like, really don't think I belong. I mean, we all say that, but we have a litany of things that have happened to us that qualify us for the chair that we're occupying, right? So if you're new, take your turn, right? You will be this amazing ripple effect of good things, right? And I feel like that's my job to give back to my higher power for this life, this amazing life that I get to live, is to just come here and be witness and participate in the lives of other people. So take your turn. Thanks.